This is a very honest video. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Throughout my entire life, I've only had one really close friend. And just recently, in 10th grade, I gained another close friend, but we don't really see each other as much. Like, we literally only see each other, like, every other month. But I've only, since first grade, I've only ever had one really close friend. And the rest either didn't know me that well, or, yeah, like literally everyone else never really knew me that well, never really knew me that deeply. And only one in 10th grade knew me deeply. But then, when I left the school to go to the public school, me and him kind of lost touch. And we both matured, and interestingly enough, I actually came back into contact with him again, and we're gonna try and hang out after we graduate. But all my life, like, I've only ever had one really close friend, and I never really got to play with many kids in the neighborhood. Like, there was one kid who lived next to me that I played with from like 10 to 11 years old or something like that. But then, like, he left, he moved away. And then there was another kid that I played with, and then he moved away too. And again, these were like very short seasons of my life. Like, the one kid was only there for a year, and the other kid was only there for like a couple months or something like that. And I didn't play with the other kid that much. And like I said, they never really knew me deeply. They never really knew me emotionally deeply. You know what I mean? And even now, with the friends I do have, I do keep a lot of emotional stuff deep inside me. Like, I don't really tell anyone, and maybe that's my fault, but I don't feel like, honestly, how I feel is like, they're, like, maybe my one, like, I do have one friend, the one close friend that I don't see a lot, that might relate to me if I tell him, but it's like, and I think he would, but sometimes I genuinely just feel like they're not going to relate to me, and they're not going to be able to help me. So, like, why tell them? It's the same thing with my parents. It's like, they're not going to be able to fully relate to me, and they're not going to be able to help me, so why tell them? And, like, I don't know if that's fully true what I'm saying. I feel like it's not, but that's how it feels sometimes. And it's like, you know, because this is basically what's been going on and how I feel. Like, all my life, since childhood, I've been alone. Like, I've spent most of my time, this is reality. I don't know if there was other kids in the neighborhood that I just wasn't seeing. There's something weird about this generation of Gen Z, where, like, kids don't go outside and play as much. You know, even back when we were, like, little kids in the 2010s, like, we didn't really go outside and play as much, it seemed like. But I did, you know, I mean, I was inside a lot too, I'd say. I mean, I don't know, I had a normal balance, but like, I as a Gen Z kid, like, I didn't really start getting really deeply into the internet and online until I was in middle school. Like, before middle school, I was barely on the internet. Like, I still was, but like, I played outside, I played with my toys, I had a big imagination. You know, I mean, I still watch TV and movies, but like, I kind of grew up, it's kind of weird, because I have an older parent, like, it's kind of weird, because I kind of grew up like a zillennial, kind of, a mixture of a millennial and Gen Z, so it's kind of weird, but, I don't know. The reason why I feel so lonely, though, like, I gotta move away. The road is really loud right now. I don't even know, bro. I don't even know who's gonna actually watch this video or stay for the whole thing or hear what I even have to say. But the reason why I feel so lonely is because all my life, again, like I said, it seems like, especially now that I go to the public school, it seems like I'm seeing all these kids who live in the neighborhood, and it's like, where were you guys like 7 years ago? Why didn't I see you just walking around? But there were never really that many kids in the neighborhood, it seemed like. I was just by myself all the time, and like, for my entire life, I have mainly only been around adults. Like, outside of school, outside of seeing my one close friend on the weekends, who is my age, everyone else in my life, outside of school, outside of my one close friend, I was always alone, and I was always around adults. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't alone in the sense of, like, I was always around adults, but you know what I mean. A kid mainly being around adults outside of school and outside of a one close friend, and being alone most of the time, because, like I said, every other weekend, there were many weekends all throughout my life, even till now, where I'm not seeing anyone except for adults, and I'm just alone, and I'm just by myself. And even the adults around me don't fully understand me, don't fully relate to me. It's like I have such a deep inner world, and it's like I remember as a kid, I'd literally pretend to have siblings. I'd literally, in my mind, like, I would be friends with imaginary characters and cartoon characters in my head, and I'd pretend to have siblings in my mind. So I don't know. I'd watch YouTubers. See, when I was online, I'd watch YouTubers play video games and stuff, and they'd feel like my friend. Like, I remember my dad took away the internet to save money, and I remember, like, actually crying and getting emotional because, like, it felt like those YouTubers were my friends. And I was always the weird kid. I was always the kid who was, like, really hyper and really weird. And then I got older and I started to become more internal. Still really weird, still really hyper sometimes, but I started to become more internal in my emotions. And then I started to turn into the kid who needs Jesus, you know, because I was doing bad stuff. And then I left the private Baptist school and I went to the public school, and it's even worse there because, like, I don't relate to anyone. Now that I am getting closer to God, like, I feel like I've struggled with lukewarmness in my faith and social skills in a way I've never struggled before, because going to a new school, the public school, for the first time my junior year, I feel like it matured me a lot as a person. I feel like it matured me a lot in my faith. I feel like it helped me see multiple perspectives for the first time. But at the same time, I think that only happened because I struggled with my faith in a way I've never struggled with it before. And honestly, for 2 years, my junior year and now my senior year, I've barely talked to anyone. The people I have talked to are on the surface level. I feel like a ghost there most of the time. I feel like a ghost. I don't really relate to anyone. And the people I do kind of relate to, I'm afraid to tell them fully about my faith and stuff. So it's like, I just feel like a ghost there. It's even worse there. And all my life, it's so weird how, like, I see all these people now that I've never seen before in my neighborhood, and I wonder, like, were they just not living here 7 years ago? Or, like, why does this generation, it's supposed to be more connected, right, because of the internet, why didn't I see all these kids walking around? Why didn't I know these people lived here 7 years ago? Where were all these new people that are here in this neighborhood that I'm seeing now that I have no rapport with because I've never talked to them? Like suburban places, they used to be like, I mean, you kind of met and you talked through school, right? But, like, suburban areas, didn't they used to be, like, tight-knit communities in the 80s and 70s? Or is that wrong? Or am I wrong? I mean, I know a lot about history, but, you know, I can still be wrong. Am I wrong on that? Or, like, is this a new thing where, like, I'm seeing these teenagers, these new people here outside in their front yard. And I'm like, where were you 7 years ago? I felt like I was the only kid in the neighborhood. Like, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. All my life I've felt like just an observer of other people. Then I literally remember in 10th grade being at private Baptist school. I literally remember in band, I would just mouth, like, I didn't care anymore at that point. I just wanted to leave the school. But I would just, like, I'd mouth the notes to the, because I used to do the clarinet in the band. I'd mouth the notes to the clarinet because I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care about practicing. I didn't care about playing. I just wanted to leave. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, like, this band can play. And I don't even have to play. And they can play just fine, and they can do stuff just fine. Why am I even here? Like, if I wasn't here, they'd be fine without me. Why am I here? I constantly felt that way. Like, if I were to leave, they'd be fine without me. They don't need me. And I always felt like, just like when I'd mess up, like I was just a burden to other people, and like they don't need me. Like if I wasn't here, they'd be fine without me. That's how I always felt. And that almost took me down a dark path at 15. But then I found Jesus again. I started realizing what it meant to have a personal relationship with Jesus and reading the Bible, and I was getting closer to God. 16, now I'm 18, closer to God, but I still feel lukewarm. I still sin, I still struggle with stuff like we all do, but it's hard to stay on fire for God. You know, and it's gotten really bad, bro. Like just now at 18, I've realized how bad this isolation has been affecting me, and I haven't realized it until now, where it's like most of my life I've just been alone. I've just been on the internet. I've just been, you know, even before I was on the internet all the time, like I was just alone playing with my toys, imagining having siblings, imagining having these friends, these fictional characters as friends, putting myself in fictional worlds. Like and it's ever since I was 12 years old, I've struggled with depression and anxiety and having thoughts of, you know what, because YouTube's stupid. But, and it's I've been struggling with that ever since I was 12. But like before that, there was hints of it, but you know, you still have that kind of childhood innocence, even if you are struggling deep inside. But then once you get into middle school, you start to have abstract thinking, and then you start to really struggle with that depression and anxiety and all that stuff. And I don't know. Like I'm also a very emotionally sensitive person, but I think my friends know. I think my family knows, but I don't really show it. You know, I try to be strong. I've always tried to be strong for people around me my entire life, because, you know, my parents haven't always been stable. My parents make mistakes just like all parents. You know, my dad is compassionate, but you know, he has a more distant, he's less affectionate, he has a more distant kind of attitude, you know what I mean? But he's still compassionate in his own way. But, you know, he didn't give me all the affirmation that I needed. But, you know, this isn't to blame him, this is just reality. You know, you get the cards you're dealt with, you know. But and then my mom, she at times was emotionally unstable. I wonder where I got it from. And that sounds horrible. Oh my gosh. God forgive me, holy. But she's better now, but she was often very overwhelming with her emotions. And so I didn't feel like I could go to either of them, because I didn't want to worry my mom. I didn't want to be a burden on my mom, because she was already unstable. And it seemed like she was a helicopter mom, really emotional, overwhelming. And then my dad, he didn't, like, all he'd tell me is like, man up, you can do this, you know? You're strong, you got God, you can do it, come on. And it's like, you know, I love you, whatever. And it's like, he just never, I don't know. I don't know. And sometimes I feel stupid for even struggling with any of this. Like, shut up. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. I also haven't built a lot of social skills. Like, I hate when people look at me sometimes, like whenever I'm walking and I have to, like, make eye contact with someone. Like, obviously, like, you know, you smile at them. That's the normal social thing to do. But it just feels sometimes, like, when I'm at school or whatever, like, and I'm walking, I'm, like, afraid for people to look at me because I don't want them to look at me. I don't want them to even see me. And this video is getting way too long, and I'm spilling guts right now, so yeah, well, see you guys later. Bye.